In my last search for a Carmichael, I found myself shipwrecked. But this time, something feels different, and this painting has led me back to sea. I don't know where it has been painted, I don't know where it is of, but I aim to find out. Join me on this journey as I try and find attribution for this painting, or will I be again lost at sea? As soon as I saw this painting at auction, there was something familiar about it that just spoke to me. Yes, it's in bad condition. Yes, it's seen better days. But there was something about those fishermen and that boat on the right-hand side that just called to me. I felt like I'd seen this work before, and I felt a real familiarity with this painting. Now, the problem is, there are no clues on this painting whatsoever. We have the maker's mark of the canvas on the back, which is Charles Robertson. There's nothing on the stretcher. There's no signature that I can find. And there are certainly areas of damage that need to be addressed. Now, I bought this painting blind. It just spoke to me. And I feel like there are similarities here with Carmichael. The figures at the front, the way the boat's been painted. But somebody's tackled this before. There are elements that have been cleaned. The UV light shows retouching and overpaint. It shows areas that have been overcleaned in the past. There are large sections of craquelure where the paint has dried too quickly, and this has been filled in with fresh paint, and this bottom left corner is just horrific. There's so much overpaint on there, it's absolutely thick. Now, I'm going to clean this painting and restore it, and I'm going to try and give it a proper attribution. But the first thing I need to do is test that it will clean and see what varnish is on there that I can remove. Now, the paint surface is pretty clean. I can see that it's been cleaned in the past. You can see that partial varnish removal from the centre section. So I'm going to go straight in on the edge with a solvent that should remove that varnish. So using this mixture now, I'm just going to go into the tacking edge and see what happens. And straight away you can see that the solvents are dissolving that varnish and revealing that bright blue underneath. Now, what's unusual is that someone's cleaned this and not cleaned the edge of that painting. So whether they cleaned it whilst it was in situ, or maybe there was multiple varnish layers. Now, my second solution is designed to remove any surface dirt or accumulations, and it's coming back blank. So this painting has had a general clean all over it. If there was any dirt on here or any nicotine, that solution would remove. And again, testing on the painting where the varnish has previously been removed shows up blank. So this painting's had a little bit of a history. It has been cleaned fairly recently, but then it was abandoned. So maybe the person who was cleaning it decided that it wasn't worth it, or they had other projects on. Now again, this is the solution to remove any nicotine or dirt. Sometimes it can remove historic overpaint, but it's not really taking anything off there. So again, telling me that this has been cleaned, or at least surface cleaned in the past. Now my solvent solution, let's see what brings up there. Now straight away, that's a lot darker than the varnish in the sky area. So this is telling me straight away that this area is thick with overpaint. And not surprising, you can see that apparent already. So where that extensive craquelure is, it's been filled in and overpainted. So my solution first tackles the varnish layer, and then it will start biting into that overpaint, and you can see the swab coming off, and much darker as it takes off that historical retouching. A lot of Carmichael's work is signed on the bottom left corner, and then on arrival any hope of finding a signature was soon dashed. There's so much retouching on here and overpaint that any signature that was here on this side is long gone. Even though the paint surface is rough and damaged, it is very secure. So I'm not looking to reline this painting or strip line it. I'm going to do a thread repair and bridging method on the back of the canvas. But before I can do that, the back of the canvas is going to need cleaning. So the back has got hundreds of years of dust and dirt that's accumulated, and this little attachment is great just for a standard vacuum cleaner. You can set the suction variably and it comes with a number of different tools, so this one's really good for getting underneath those stretcher bars, so all those deposits, pine needles, insects, you name it, that's all collected underneath there, and this tool is really good at just getting underneath there gently and removing all that debris and dirt. To repair the rips and tears on this canvas, I'm going to do it locally, so I'm not relining the whole picture. I'm just applying some blotting paper that's had a little bit of moisture applied to it, and then I'm going to press this down. So the moisture will just allow that canvas to kind of relax and flatten out, and then it'll make it a lot easier for when I come to do the thread repair and bridging technique. So this will be covered with the Melanex. I'll apply some weight, just a gentle weight to it, and I'll probably leave it for say 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and I'll just check during that process just to make sure that nothing untoward is happening, the moisture level is correct, and while that's doing what it needs to do, I can prepare some small little bits of linen. Now I separate this off into small sections about 1 centimetre long, and then these will be used to strengthen the repair of the canvas from the back. So when I remove the Melanex, you can see the blotting paper has kind of drawn out some of the dirt and impurities from the back of the canvas, but it's also allowed that to relax. Now, you could take the whole painting off the stretcher, put it on the heated vacuum table and do it that way, but for just small repairs like this, where they're only a few centimetres long, this technique works perfectly well. And you can see there how the tears have flattened out nicely, and there's just a few of those threads that need to be aligned now. So also from the front, you can see that it's flattened out nicely from the front, and it's a little bit up to tension. So the next stage will be me organising those loose fibres, applying my glue mixture, which is a mixture of wheat starch paste, fish glue, rabbit skin glue, and then I apply the bonding threads across. So it's almost like you're putting stitches in. The thread repair glue will keep the rip together, and then these just offer a little bit more stability to the back of the canvas. And it's a little bit less invasive than putting a patch on there, which sometimes can weigh through to the front and emboss. And when it's only a small repair, it's perfectly fine to use this method. Okay guys, the repairs are dry now. I've left those overnight and I'm really pleased with how they've turned out. It's just going to strengthen those areas. There's a little bit of thread repair on there as well, so I'm happy with that. And now I get to clean this painting. I can't tell you how excited I am to actually start revealing the actual colours of this painting, and hopefully find some clues. I am so optimistic that something's just going to pop out. I can't tell you, but yeah, I think this now will be such a treat, and the colours that we reveal will be fantastic. So let's hope it's not a nightmare. I am aware there's certain parts of this painting that are going to be horrific. That bottom left hand corner is going to be horrific. There's no other way to describe what that's going to look like after I've cleaned it. But that's a small percentage. That's, I don't know, like 3% or 5% of the whole painting. The rest of it is going to look fantastic. So let's get cleaning. Now, using UV light, you can see where the varnish is still fluorescing green. So that's where varnish hasn't removed. And then the black areas are the overpaint in those deep crackler fissures. So what I'm going to do with these sections is, because it's so hard to know what's overpaint, what's original, I'm going to clean whilst using the UV light or having the UV light on. So you'll be able to see what I'm removing as I'm removing it. So I've been using this method a little bit more recently. It just gives you that little bit more confidence. So as I'm cleaning, the UV light is on, and then you can see that luminous green removing. So that's the varnish coming off. And you can see there that the painting is still intact. I'm not removing anything that I shouldn't be. And then again, back under UV, you can see that from his jacket now, the majority of that varnish is gone. And then you can carry on working that across the painting as well. So in this section here, you've got lots of varnish here, that green. But you can also see the overpaint underneath that's black as well. So that's on top of the varnish layer. So it's been varnished, and then the overpaint has gone on top of that. So you can see there under UV how that varnish removes. It just gives you a little bit more confidence that what you are removing is what you should be removing. As ever, there's always a fine line between knowing when to carry on and when to stop. And looking at that painting now, I'm just so pleased with it. It's so good. I love, probably mentioned it, these little guys on this boat here are fantastic, and the way they correspond to the tones of these fishermen, it's just brilliant. There are large areas of damage that we know about here and up here. And then this very thick crackler is all the way through the painting. Now, some of it's cleaned off quite easily, and I'm down to the bare canvas underneath. Some of it is quite stubborn and is not moving. So rather than try and remove that for very little gain, I think the best thing to do is just leave those in place. I'm going to be filling over a large amount of these bigger areas anyway and retouching, so to remove some of the smaller or darker areas for no gain, there's no point being overly aggressive and possibly removing some of the actual original paint as well. So I'm going to leave that clean there for now. I think it looks balanced. I know what's happening with the painting. There's a certain element of a few bits near the harbour that I'm not entirely sure of. I think that must be another sail or something similar coming into the harbour. So the next thing to do, I've just wiped over with a neutralising spirit to stop any advancements of any of the cleaning solutions, and then that will dry, and then we will be looking at putting a barrier varnish on there. But really pleased with how it looks. It looks so good. So yeah, barrier varnish next. But first, let me take you on a little trip. If you remember a few months ago on the Opie painting, I came to Manchester Library and I found a little book on John Wilson Carmichael. So I've come back today. I'm going to have a read through this, see if I can find out any little bits or nuggets of information that's going to help me with the attribution. There are some fabulous paintings in this book. There are some that speak to me directly. Now, if you look at the highlight on the back of that boat, that's one of Carmichael's signature painting techniques. He'll always put a really strong highlight on a boat bow or stern. And the other thing I'm trying to do is locate where this painting might be. And this book has got some great clues. This is Sunderland Harbour. If you look, there's 2 piers. There's a red flag on one of the piers as well. This is by Carmichael. He obviously visited the area. So this is kind of seeping into my mind now, as well as where this painting could be. Now, even though Carmichael was successful in his lifetime, he did have to rely on small paintings and pot boilers to pay his bills. One eyewitness said, "One morning I went into his studio and found 8 or 10 small pictures fixed up before the fire to facilitate faster drying." Our painting is showing all the signs of being speeded up in its drying time, which has allowed that shrinkage to happen. Another little clue is how he would work on his compositions. Here he says that he suggests bringing attention to objects such as rock, seaweed or rusty iron or pieces of wreckage in the front of a painting, using old buoys and posts, much like the paraphernalia in the front of our picture. This was interesting as well. So the human elements are invariably turned away, or they are looking down, wearing wide brimmed hats or his characteristic red woolen caps. Other times he loses the face in an indistinct mist. Now, our figures have the red woolen caps on shore and in the boat, and his face is a little bit indistinct. He comforted himself though, because even his idol Turner sometimes fudged up the faces, so he wasn't too bothered about that. Now, Carmichael did go to London and he was fairly successful. It just wasn't the level of success he wanted. He retired to Scarborough, moving to Mulgrave Terrace, where he stayed the rest of his life until he passed away. One funny anecdote I found though was for his time in London. So he always preserved his northern habit of speech, so he must have been a full-on Geordie, and had so much difficulty in making himself understood in London society that on one occasion a lady asked him how long he had lived in England and wondered that he had not made more progress with the language. But I think Carmichael had a good sense of humour, and things like that didn't bother him too much. I saw a couple of entries where he did have paintings exhibited in the Royal Academy. Good paintings, but they were skied. They were hung so high that nobody could see them. So where does this leave us with our painting? For me, the big clues for us are the highlights on the bow of the boat, the fact that this painting is probably a pot boiler. It was sold to somebody local to pay the bills. It was of an area of the northeast. There's the hats that the fishermen are wearing, but there's also that shrinkage, that ridiculous amount of crackler, and I can just imagine this painting being sat outside Carmichael's fire, drying rapidly to make a sale. So on the way back to the studio, I've got all this going around in my mind, but I also need to pinpoint the location of this painting. Now, before I went away, I put a call out to you guys to try and find out from a few very cryptic clues where this might be. Where do you think this could be in the country? And these are some of the answers that you gave back. Quite a number of people were taken by the White Cliffs, and Admiral Bay in Dover came up. Whitby came up a number of times. The harbour there is a little bit different though. Staithes came up for the cliffs, very, very similar. North Shields also came up for a similar kind of harbour setting. But what I did do was I looked at all the suggestions that people came with, and I went for a bit of a Google around, as I like to do, and I travelled all the way up the East Coast, and I zoomed in on these places that were suggested, and I looked for any similarities, geographical kind of landmarks, the harbours, and to try and find if I could pinpoint where this might be. Now, from the book, that harbour of Sunderland looked pretty good. And then when I zoomed in on Sunderland Harbour, I saw the opening and the north and the south pier. Now for me, when I look at our painting, you can see there's a definite two harbour walls coming out. So on these other paintings of Sunderland Pier by Carmichael and also by Stuart Henry Bell, you can see the flag, you can see the old lighthouse, and on this image here where X marks the spot, you can see that on the right hand side you've got the north and the south pier. Now if Carmichael was stood on the X, you would be able to see the north and the south pier on his right hand side. And again, looking at this etching from back in the day, you can see that this harbour arrangement speaks quite strongly from our composition. So is it Sunderland Harbour? Is it Whitby? It's still a little bit up in the air, but before I can fully decide where I'm going to attribute this painting to, we need to crack on. I need to apply the barrier varnish, I need to fill the painting, and I need to start the retouching. Before I can do any of that retouching though, I need to fill all the areas of damage. Some of these larger areas of crackler as well need filling as well. So I'm using my conservation grade filler. I'm going to overfill the areas, and then once the area's been filled and I'm happy with the surface, I will clean off the residue and tidy it up ready for retouching. Now there is quite a lot of surface crackler on here, it is quite uneven, but that's just the painting showing its age. And as mentioned earlier, if this painting was completed in a hurry and if Carmichael was drying it over a fire, it could have made those underlayers contract very quickly, which has caused all these large fissures across the painting. So I'm not going to fill everything, and some of those areas that you can see here, I'm just going to retouch those in and push those back, otherwise the painting would just be full of white crazy paving filler, which is unnecessary. I'm just going to retouch in the worst of these areas. Okay guys, I've just finished first pass retouching there, and he is looking pretty good. I'm going to see how it dries though. There's some elements in the sky around, oh that was quite good, here, and let's see how I do this, opposite, on my cheek, around here. There's another little bit here that might dry a little bit funny, might need a little bit more retouching, but yeah, he's looking really good. I enjoyed putting the shore work back in here to try and get that to look a little bit more like a beach with that pebbles and stuff happening there. and also touching in the boat. I still love these little guys in the boat. Just fantastic the way the light's hitting this guy here, hoisting the sail. Fabulous. So I'm going to leave that overnight. I'm going to come back in tomorrow, and then we're getting really close then. It's getting so close to being finished. I'm really excited. And yeah, so let's come back tomorrow and see how this painting is looking. So next day I'm back in the studio. The majority of the retouching looks pretty good. There's going to be some minor adjustments, so I'm going to put on the first coat or top coat of varnish. This is a hydrocarbon varnish. It's going to form a really good seal across the whole of this painting, but it's also going to show me if my retouching is good. Sometimes the varnish goes on and your retouching is a little bit out. So if you look at the top right of the ship, you can see the red flag, and on the right hand side my retouching is a little bit pale there, so that's going to need a little bit of adjustment. And likewise above this mast here you can see this little dark cloud area now that's not been addressed, so that'll have to be pushed back and toned down a little bit as well. So when the varnish layer goes on, invariably you get it right, but sometimes there is going to have to be a second pass. So I'm going to let that dry, reassess when it comes out the next day, and see if there's any final little bits that need looking at. And for some reason putting the picture in the frame makes these little, not errors, but adjustments all too apparent. So sometimes I like to fit the painting up thinking it's finished, and then you view it and you realise what you need to do. So with the frame and painting fitted back up together, I know you're all dying to find out what my attribution is. So without further ado, I've gone with Fishing Boats off Sunderland Harbour after John Wilson Carmichael. Now, you may be wondering how I got to this. There was lots of evidence pointing towards Sunderland as opposed to Whitby, which was the other choice of people. Now, the thing with Whitby is the harbours are different, especially at this time. So this is 1778, and you can see the West Pier extends out, and the East Pier is somewhat behind it. And again, on this image from 1868, I think it is, or 1828, the West Pier extends forward and the other pier is hidden behind. Whereas on Sunderland, you can see here that we've got the, I think it was the North Pier and the South Pier. Now, if this is where he was stood, that North Pier, with the same kind of construction as on our painting, the South Pier would appear from round the back of it, if you like. So that's why I've gone with Sunderland Harbour. This is just my best guesstimate, if you like. There's probably lots of other factors involved in where this may be. It could be just a made-up scene. You never know. He could have took artistic license with this painting and just decided to put some things together, because the cliffs do look very much like the cliffs at Whitby, but then that harbour does suggest Sunderland to me. But I am thinking northeast England. Those cliffs, people suggested Flamborough Head with the chalkiness, but they kind of got a bit more of a tone to it. But the thing for me with this painting is that highlight and those figures on that boat, that suggests Carmichael to me. That's how he painted. That's how he painted his images. That's what he pulled together to get his look. And if this was a pot boiler, if this was something to pay the bills, he may well have just kind of put a composite together of different areas. But there is something in that harbour there with the flag that does suggest to me Sunderland. But I stand to be corrected anyway. So the painting looks fabulous. I'm so pleased with how it's turned out. We've got the reflection of these fishermen in the water at the bottom. They're pulling the nets in. There's some lovely colours and there's some lovely little details in here as well. So I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. So here's the before. You can see damage, the crackler, the overpaint, the discoloured varnish, the part clean. It really was in a sorry state. And then as we've cleaned the varnish off, we've repaired those damages sympathetically, and we've restored the canvas where necessary. This painting, now retouched, just looks fabulous, and those colours are really shining through. I just love that sea and that boat. The way it's positioned on there is just fabulous. And then fitted up into its frame. So this is a bespoke reproduction frame that I commissioned for the painting. We've got the nameplate on there now, and this just really sets it off. I just feel like this painting deserves this. Right guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Thanks for all those that put answers in for the competition as well. So what I've done is I've put all your comments into a spreadsheet and I've generated a random number. Now, nobody actually guessed Sunderland. Quite a lot of you guessed Whitby, but I've give it my best attribution. I could be wrong, who knows, but that's as close as I think I can get it. So everybody who put a comment in, so whether you guessed Gibraltar, Dover, Whitby, you've all been entered into the competition. I've generated a random number from a spreadsheet, and I'm pleased to say that the winner is Quid 2005. So if you want to get in touch with me, send me a DM or an email. I'll put my email address in the description, and contact me and I will send out your limited edition signed prints. So, but thanks everyone who had a guess. It made it really good fun, and you gave me some real good ideas to search as well. So that's all we have time for on this episode. I've got some more paintings coming for you soon. Thanks as ever to all my patrons for supporting the channel. It means so much to know you there, and you're supporting everything that I do. And in the meantime, I've done a weather report for a while now. We're in September. Manchester's a bit coldish, overcasty, but not raining, and overcasty is a word. Right guys, I will see you all on the next one. Take care. Thank you. Hi guys, I forgot to mention that if this painting captured your attention and you really like it and would like to own it, it is now for sale on my website. I will put a link in the description, and this is the address here. But yeah, if you want to purchase this fabulous picture and hang it on your wall, head over to the website and you can have a look at it as well. I will include free international shipping, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world, that will be covered. Right, I am going now. Okay, take care guys. Bye.